So for today, I thought I would get a little more into the basic introduction part since I didn't yesterday, and it makes a logical starting point. So, again, I'm Candace. I'm a gamer, hence DICE and all the gaming videos on my channel, which are also part of why I have playlists for everything because, it helps people find things. I am queer, and not just in the way I talked about yesterday. I'm a nerd fighter, which, if it's not self-explanatory, I can probably put a link to something in the doobly-doo that'll help. Probably. And I'm disabled. The gamer thing, I think, is self-explanatory. I play a lot of computer games. I would like to be able to play tabletop RPGs, D&D, and the like more often than I do, but, when you're an adult and no longer in school, your access to people who are available for gaming changes. Oh, right, yeah, school. I have two expensive pieces of paper because I'm not using my degrees, and even if I were, they're expensive pieces of paper. As an undergrad, I was a double major in both captive wildlife care and education, which is basically how to be a zookeeper, and marine biology, and I have a master's of professional studies in publishing. But, like I said, not currently being used. As for being disabled, that's mostly a side effect of having had cancer and having been treated for it, because the treatment itself fucks up your body quite a bit. And since I've had cancer 4 times, 3 separate cancers, one relapsed, hence 4 times, my body's been through the ringer. Now, most of that was over a decade ago, but lucky me, got another one. Which, like the last one, is likely caused by the treatment for the last one. So, to break that down a little bit, not getting into cancer stuff specifically for this, but I started with a tumor on my arm, have a nice scar that runs down it. The treatment for that directly caused, like, it's a known side effect. 2 out of 5 of the chemo drugs used for treating that tumor have leukemia as a potential side effect. A super rare one, but I get all the weird and rare side effects. So, the leukemia, which is the one that relapsed, which is why I needed a bone marrow transplant. And that bone marrow transplant required total body irradiation, which is why the hair everywhere, not just here, is permanently damaged. It raised my likelihood of all cancers, but especially skin cancers. And the more recent one, like I had surgery a couple of months ago, recent, I still have a healing surgical area type recent, was a skin cancer on my vampire self that doesn't go outside in a place that's always covered with clothes. So while it's not a guaranteed blame it on the treatment for the last one, like the leukemia definitely was, it's likely that this is due to the radiation rather from my treatment rather than from the sun directly. My body's really good at being a medical outlier. A couple of interesting quirks, because while the process itself doesn't really have anything to recommend it. The science behind both cancer itself and or cancers, there's lots of different kinds, and the treatment itself is fascinating. I am medically a chimera. I'm allergic to myself because when you have any kind of transplant, that's a thing, but since with a bone marrow transplant, you're specifically getting a new immune system, like I had to go through and get all of my vaccinations from the beginning again because you lose them all, and my blood type changed. I didn't know that was a thing, but it makes sense since the new blood cells came from somebody else's bone marrow. Well, stem cells. But, yeah. It's a weird little tidbit that, for understandable reasons, most people don't think can happen. So, for the being queer in more than one way, the easiest way for me to break it down is that I'm queer on 3 different spectra. There's the gender one, because non-binary or gender queer are actually the labels that I think fit me best. I am asexual, which means I don't experience sexual attraction to anybody. And I'm panromantic, which means that other people's gender has no bearing on whether or not they would be a romantic partner for me. Now, as I've mentioned before, Baby isn't really a cuddler. She doesn't like being picked up or held. Well, she definitely hates being picked up and held, but just being held on its own, she's not overly fond of either. She likes being scratched and pet and brushed and whatnot, but she is not a cuddly kitty. The closest thing I get is how she is in bed at night. So I took a couple of clips of that, and I'm going to put those in now. One of the 2 places on the bed where she curls up. Right, cat? Right. This is the other place in bed that you curl up. Huh. She doesn't actually cuddle. She doesn't like being held. But she curls up in the spot next to my head. And you know, I take what I can get. I have no idea if I can see you. Yeah, you. You. Partially because it occurred to me that, you know, I could get footage of her being cute. And not quite cuddly, but as close as I'm gonna get. And also just because, you know, cat. Why not? I also had a couple other things occur to me for things I could talk about. One is the podcasts I listen to, because I do listen to a handful of them. Some are directly or tangentially related to Nerdfighter stuff, like Dear Hank and John and Delete This, but also because I have a lot of experience with it in being the poor and disabled, there are broken pieces of the system that I butt heads with or just have to live with and work around, that people who live with them know that the problems are there. So, it could be informative kind of way, and I don't know if it would be cathartic to vent about it. I'm not sure. It definitely wouldn't be an upbeat kind of topic, but if people are interested in hearing about some of that stupid bullshit, you know, I've been dealing with it for a while now. I've been disabled since 2004. So, because that's when I got my first cancer. Other than that, I'm not sure what would be good introductory information about me, and my train of thought derails rather easily, so I think it'll be better for me to keep this a little shorter and simpler, depending on how this edits down, and figure out something to have talking points about for tomorrow.